You may have seen in my video about the Ultra Probe command module that when my friend Mark in America sent me it, he also sent me the flying sub from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, because he knew I was after one. And I was. But I wasn't after it to build it. And from what I can gather talking to Mark and my friend Ian, is this is a pig of a model to put together. But I'm not bothered by that, because the reason I was after one of these is it's used by Martin Bower in Space 1999 rather blatantly with this gun platform. Here it is here. And Martin has said he wasn't expecting them to film it from this angle pointing down, because it is clearly the flying sub shape, at least the upper hole of it. And it's also clear that this is a slide carousel, the old photographic slide carousel, right? So I've always liked this design, and back in the glory days of the old Eagle Transporter forum, that was a great site, because they would really go into detail about, you know, what kit parts were used and what things were made from. And sadly, it's now defunct. But while it was still up and running, and while I had an idea to make one of these, a recreation, I was printing images out and making notes where people have identified things, just what it is. So we got a 1/16 dragster here, a Revel 1/16, Tony Nancy, the Loner 1974. Maybe can use, can't read my writing, BB and Mulligan. All right. I don't know if that was a dragster. Got to look into that. All right. And yeah, lunar lander parts, Revel 132nd Mirage, you know, bits and pieces everywhere. And back in the day, I did this because, good old Leopold, I had it in mind to have a go. Now, a lot of the parts are unidentified, but I thought back then, if I could get the main shapes and go my own way, my one would be another one of these guns just down the road, similar but not the same. Okay, so it was put off by the fact that I couldn't find one of these in the UK at an affordable price, but Mark has given me one, so let's go. So of course I've got to start amassing parts. Quick trawl through eBay nabbed me a couple of things quite easily. Number one, this is, look at the size of this kit, right? This is the Revel 132nd Mirage. Obviously, you can tell by the packaging, this is not a vintage 1970s kit, right? This is a re-release. Now, whatever that is, I don't know if it's recreated in there, all right? I haven't looked in this box yet. I've got to open it up and have a look and find this or something very similar to this, because, as I say, what I'm going to be doing is something that's similar, right? So I've got to find something in there that looks like that. I kind of figure this cost me a bit. I won't say how much, but it was a bit. But you get a massive decal sheet, tons of parts. This is going to be good for the start of a brand new bits box. So that's one of the donor shapes, hopefully, is inside. The other thing that I picked up really cheap is a slide magazine carousel, right? Eyeball in it, and just looking at the size of it here, this looks like about the same size. Now, okay, it might not be the exact type, make of one, but this, as I say, is an approximation. So I haven't unboxed this. Both of these came same day. So I'm going to open them up, have a look, and I'll come back and I'll tell you what I found. Right, so in the Mirage box, get this lovely set of decals, which I'm sure going to find a use for. It appears to be a 1/32 scale ejector seat, which I really don't have much of a use for. But yeah, I'm happy to say the thing that I needed is in here. Okay, it's not the original 1974 or 75 original, but it's this. I'm guessing that's the engine, and I'll show you the line drawing of it. I think it's next page. Tons of pieces here. It's this fella. It's this thing, right? So let's show you some pieces. Look at all this stuff, which I'm sure to find plenty of use for. All these pull back for dramatic effect. I'm not going to open up the packet, but here it is. This is the bit. This is absolutely the bit that I need. These two pieces together, right? So that's good. That's a result. And also what's a result is the slide projector carousel. It looks to be brand new. It really looks to be brand spanking new. Now, whether it's the right one or not, it doesn't matter, because as I say, I'm going my own way with it. But that's a result. I think this was about £5 off of eBay. So result. A lot of the parts and kit parts used on this build are still unidentified to this day. And when I start construction, I'm going to have to go my own way on certain things. Not quite sure what's going on in there or what some of these are around here. And this shape here is still unidentified. There's a guy on the Space 1999 Props and Ships Facebook page called Eric, who is going to be an ally of mine, and I'll explain in subsequent videos coming up why. But he quite sensibly has suggested this could be the same shape that the two halves of Voyager from Voyager's Return were made out of, because it does look very similar. That's too big to be a kit part. And if memory serves me right, they were from a picnic set that Martin Bauer saw in his local, hardware shop. So when I reach that point of trying to find that, I might have to come up with some sort of like Tupperware household item for that. But I'm happy to say that some kit parts that have been identified are what make up this strange beak affair at the back. And I'm very happy to say that the model that you need to buy to get those is a model I wanted very much when I was little. The Airfix B29 Super Fortress. And as with many of the Airfix kits, the reason I wanted it was this glorious, glorious artwork. I mean, just look at that. And yeah, the pieces I need actually form the lower half of the engine assembly, pointing backwards, right? And I can show you them, for here they are. I need all four of them, because Martin Bauer was great at looking at something and going, oh, I could turn that round, and that's what he did. He put two together like that, and then the two others underneath, right? So it cost a bit of money, this, to buy this. There were a number on eBay, and I was very happy with this. I mean, a lot of them were like, buy it now for 45, 50, 60, 70 pounds. But there was one that was in a regular auction, and the starting bid was, I think, 30 pounds. And so I was watching it, and I think this is quite crucial. Sometimes, auctions finish during the daytime, during work time, and not everybody can be actually on their phone or on their computer. And I got it. I was the highest bidder straight off. I wasn't outbid or anything. So yeah, it's a bit of money, quite a bit of money just for 4 pieces, but I've always wanted this model. Also, I know Martin Bauer used the B29 a lot for other miniatures that he made, be it on part of anything on Alien or Blake 7, Doctor Who, Space 1999. There are parts in here that I've recognised while having a rummage through. So what I'm going to do is what I don't normally do. Normally when I buy a donor kit for parts, all the rest of the parts go into a bits box. But this one I'm going to seal up. Once I've taken those 4 pieces out, I'm going to seal this up, because you never know, somewhere down the line I might do another studio recreation that needs parts out of this. So yeah, let's keep that all together. All right, time to get serious and to start amassing the parts. So the very basis is the slide projector carousel. Okay, the very distinctive upper half is one of the whole halves from the flying sub. That gives us 2 pieces. Next, we have to get the B29 Super Fortress for the 4 pieces that make up the back of it. Somewhere on one of my pieces of paper is mentioned that good old standby, the Hasegawa Leopold kit, which is just an absolute treasure trove of kit pieces. It's no wonder that the ILM guys, the model makers, when making the original Star Wars trilogy, came back to that time and time again. I've owned this multiple times, and yeah, that is a kit that keeps on giving. So that gives us them. Then we've got to bring in this monster of a kit, the biggest kit you're going to need, the 1/32 scale Revell Mirage. We'll be discussing this later, but I've got a feeling getting this more modern version is actually going to benefit me, but that's somewhere down the line. So what we'll do now is we'll bring in for a nice group shot that lot, okay, and then we're going to need not 1, not 2, but possibly 3 Airfix lunar modules, and I'll explain why. Because if I look at another reference photo, this one here, this, by the way, this tub shape is still unidentified. Recently I thought that might have been the rear of the Revell 1/24 Gemini capsule, just the rear part, but the slope of it is wrong. So I don't think it's that, all right? But no, this shape here, this bulky shape here, if I can do it one-handed, I can show you what's going on. What that is the front and back of the face, if you like, of the lunar module, which is like so. But what Martin Bauer did, can you see that circle there is that circle there? This top half is that top half. But what he did was cut the face off. This whole front of it, he's cut off to give you that. Okay? So, that's needed. Also, just here, I'm so grateful to the folks that put these photos up back in the day on the forum. You've got 2 more lunar module parts. This is the bottom bit. This piece here is this piece here, and that lip there is that lip there. But look, sat on top of it is another one of them. And what Martin done, here has done here is cut that off, because that, once that's been cut off, sits on top. So you need 2 lunar modules to do that, because this was back in the day when you go down to Woolworths and these were like $4.99 or something. All right. Luckily, this is again a staple of model making, scratch building, prop making. So whenever I see one of them going cheap, I snap it up, and I'm very glad about that too, because, and I don't think I've got the photo I need. Yes, I have. Here, these are all these things, right? You've got the thrusters and then some directional vane thing. This is a whole load of them. The model comes with 4, right? I've got 2 kits here, but I've got other sprues scattered around. And I think I'm going to have enough. I think I need about 20 to go around that barrel. So next step then, I will come back when I've snipped things off the sprues, got things together, and try to work out what on earth I meant by Haziwaga Leopold there, right? So one last shot of all the donor parts so far, yeah, I will return. Before I start amassing all the kit parts together, I thought what I'd do is try and work out the dimensions of this tub thing, because if I can't find out what it was, my good friend, fellow model maker, podcasting co-host Ian has said if I give him the dimensions of it, he can have a go at 3D printing it. So blooming good idea. So what I'm going to do is, I'm looking here on my laptop at a image of it, and I've also got the same image on paper, and you can see that the shape itself doesn't take up the whole space of this inlay bit on the carousel. And it seems to be, can I find the other photo to show it? It seems to be raised up, and there's something orange underneath. So it's like that's part of the turntable thing. So I figure whatever that orange thing is, that's sitting and covering that hole. And then the tub shape is sitting flush, but it doesn't go out to the edge of there. All right. So just eyeballing it, I measured 11 centimeters, and that I don't think is too far off. I think that's 11 centimeters. All right. So I'm going to go with that. Now I've got to work out how far up it goes before it goes in and forms the tub cone shape. Okay, what I next did, can you see the cut down lunar module part is a little bit raised above the bottom. So what I did was, I haven't cut it off yet, but I put that there, right? So I had a mark. By the way, I'd already measured across. I don't know if I said that last time. I'd already measured across, and I was happy with 11 centimeters. So that gave me where that piece will sit, just there. And then I could see the point where it stops being flat and goes inwards is just slightly above the lunar module piece. So by putting that on there like that, that gave me a line just there, okay, which is this line going across, which is 3 centimeters up from there. Okay, so then what I did, because I've got to get the angle, what I then did was, this is why I like working on my laptop, I put that over it, had that at the bottom, and I enlarged the image until the piece of paper's at the bottom and my line is that line there. All right, and then I moved it across until I was pretty happy I was at the end, and that gave me an angle which I roughly drew in. And by doing that, I had worked out that it's yay high, 3.5 centimeters in, 3.5 centimeters in, giving you 7 centimeters at the top, and it's given me the angle. I reckon that ain't far off. I think that's the shape that I need to draw out properly and send the measurements off to Ian. I'm happy with that. If I put that in there like that, that's not far off at all. All right, construction is underway with destruction of some of the Airfix parts. So this whole area that you see here is the back and the front of the lunar module, with the front gone, right? So what I've done there is I've hacksawed that off, well, junior hacksawed that off and sanded it all down, right? Next thing I want to do, it looks like there's a circle inside there with a cross on it. Got to see if I can find that in my bits box. Now I've got to work out what's going on the top. But that is that area, all right? So that's that. Second photo, I don't know if the guy who was supplying these photos back in the Eagle Forum day actually owned or had access to the original model, because he put up this, and I have no record apart from these things that I printed out and then I drew on. He put up these photos to show that that was a dragster part. Okay, it's more telling to me about what this is, all right? And there we go again. I've replicated this here with the little groove that you can see here. Is that there? All right, so that's done. This is classic Martin Bauer. He always says that you don't just stick kit parts on. You've got to like cut them up, turn them around, disguise them somehow. And you know, the lunar module is a very distinctive shape, but if you do that and put it face down like that, it doesn't look like it anymore, does it? So yeah, classic Martin Bauer. But yeah, that's all I know, is a dragster part goes on the top. The only other thing I know about this piece is if I bring in this book, there is a shot of Martin holding it, and you get a rare shot because it's usually only filmed from the other side, but there it is. It's got a couple of tubes sticking out, but there, that's where it goes. It goes the other side of that other piece, all right? And Martin says in this book, again, something that he said before about this, that in a couple of shots, you can clearly see, he thought it was going to be filmed from a low angle, but in a couple of shots, you can clearly see it's the flying sub hull. Well, over breakfast this morning, I watched the Dorcons, hoping to get some nice, other shots. I can pause the Blu-ray and take some shots. You only see this gun twice. And both times it's this sort of angle. There's never a shot from above, and they're always in the distance. So it's not that jarring at all. Okay. The other thing, I might as well show it while I've got the barrel up. A lot of people say that the 1/32 Mirage kit part for the barrel, it just goes up to there. It's just that bit and that bit. And I've seen photos of the original 70s kit, and it does seem to be just that long. But I've got the Revel reissue where you have the whole engine. So this piece here is this piece here, and folk are saying it only goes up to there. But I'm thinking that the rest of that is pretty much the length of that. So you know what? I'm just going to leave that on there. This is not going to be a slavish recreation. It can't be. I don't know what all the kit parts are. So it's going to be another platform that's elsewhere on Alpha. Okay, so I'm leaving that as is. And you can see here this ringlet of those lunar module parts. And what I've done is I've put one on with blue tack because Martin has gone up to this rim here. And then I've eyeballed it. I've laid the flying sub piece along, and you can see at the end the B29 engine cowlings are just there. So I've measured from there to there. That gave me a size, and I've extended it with this piece of wooden pole, all right, which slid very, very nicely into there. So that's the right length now. It looks like, can you see here, there's a drop down before these bits. So I just want to put something smaller on the end, and then that will join onto maybe a cap or something. Speaking of the, hang on, let's get a clearer photo again. Yeah, look, you can see what I'm on about there. So yeah, this peculiar end to the barrel are the 4 engine cowlings like that, and then 2 for the other side. Now, I have an ally in America, a fellow Eric called Eric, and he is in the process of building one and amassing parts, and we've been, you know, bandying messages backwards and forwards about kit part identification. And he has very, very nicely, I haven't got it to hand at the moment, although maybe I can reach one. Yeah, I can find one. These pointy bits on the end are 2 bits from a dragster kit, which are incredibly expensive now. You won't get one for less than £100 these days. Hang on, I'm just trying to find the other one. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you won't find one, but Eric's very kind. He sent me a couple, so that is that. All right, and he's taken some molds, and he sent me a molding of another one. So these are the 2 prongs. So cheers, matey. But also what he sent me was he took a molding of those, which has given me this, and he sent me this. And I'm thinking I might as well just use this because these are all hollow, right? And most probably that was all hollow as well, but I quite like that like that. I just got to smooth out a join. So I'm going to be using this resin piece on the end, all right? So the next step, at least with the barrel, is to do another Martin Bauer thing, which is wrap that with plasticard, because then I've got a nice injection plastic tube to start attaching things to. Okay, so quite a few developments for you today. Let's start off with the thruster vane things. They are all applied, as you can see, and that took 15 of them. You've got 15 on there, and there's 4 per model. So if you were starting from scratch and wanted to scratch build this, you'd have to buy 4 kits. So yes, that's a pricey part just there. As you can see, I've wrapped the wooden pole in plasticard, and then on the back here, it ends here. There's a gap, and then there's the B29 pieces, just to refresh your mind. So what I've done, or I'm going to do, at the end there, I found these Tamiya tank wheels are just a smaller diameter than the wooden pole with the plasticard. So I've cut them down so they'll fit together, and then basically I'm going to glue them onto the wooden pole, and then the B29 on, and that will give me that little step affair. Then if we go to the business end of the turret, you've got a pointy bit. All right, now that pointy bit has a hole in the end of it. All right, like so. And I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but it could be hang on, someone's coming. Sorry about that. It looks close enough for me, and this is the engine bell off of the lunar module. And in all of this, with everything that I'm going to be doing, I figure if Martin's got boxes of kit pieces up, there's a very good chance that he was using more than one piece from a kit at a time. So this is going to do, right? Is it this photo, or is it another one I've got? It might be another one I've got. Hang on one second. I can't tell right now. No, I can't tell, but it does seem to be recessed slightly. It's not just on the very end. So luckily those Tamiya tank wheels actually fit in there, and they sit on a little lip. So what you've got here is two of the wheels, and then that will now attach in there nicely. So that's what I'm going to be doing there. The other development I've got for you today is the mystery of this shape, right? So I said before, didn't I? Nobody seems to know what this is. So what I've done is I've scaled it up, and I had a rough drawing like that by enlarging this image on my laptop up to the right size with the 11 centimeter across, and it gave me this. Okay, so it's 11 centimeters across at the bottom, 7 centimeters at the top, 3.5 inches centimeters in from each side. So by doing that, what I did was I made a nice drawing, and I took a photograph of that and sent that to my friend Ian, who has a 3D printer, and it has come today, and here is what he has produced. Okay, so that's that, and that is what it is meant to be, and I think it's pretty spot on. Just needs either a sanding or some filler primer on that to make that smooth. I've then got to address all the detail bits, but that's some way off. The other thing that I have to address, now I've got that, fabulous, thank you Ian, is if you look carefully here, there's orange, or it might not be orange, it might be just, this is artificial light, you can see it's tinting that all orange there, but there's something down there, right? There's something down there, and also you can see here that shape is not sitting down into the recess of the slide carousel. It's actually completely flush with the top level of the carousel, and I can show you what I mean by, if I bring in the carousel, it's sitting flush with here, not down in there. If I put that in, it fits fine, but it's too low down. It has got to be up and level, because it's level with that lip, and this two-piece part of the lunar module, as you can see, sits slightly higher. It doesn't sit along the bottom, it sits slightly higher. So before I can do anything with this, well, number one, I've got to get the ribbon out of the way. What I need to do is fill that hole in with a piece of plasticard, and then find something that can sit in there that's the right size, that will sit and make it level. And before I can do that, while I'm cutting out a disc to fit in there, I've got to cut a disc out for there as well. Okay, so very pleased with that. Thank you again, Ian, if you're watching this. That was a big stumbling block. So I'm going to start finally paying some attention to this nifty thing. And yeah, I will crack on, and I will return, hopefully, with an even bigger advancement. Okay, so that's stuck on one end. At the other end, I decided it was too fat, 2 tank wheels, so I just did one, sanded it down so it became a disc, and that's in place. And I've also put a band of plasticard there just to tidy that all up. I don't think I'll stick the prongs on the end just yet, because it's going to get a bit difficult to handle coming up. And yeah, what I mean by that is I've been studying this photo and trying to work out how the turret is attached to the shape here. How did Martin do it? All right. And I was studying and studying, and some things have leapt out of me, not just this photo, but other ones I've got, and some I haven't got printed out, so I can't show you. Sorry about that. But the first thing to note is there is a shape running all the way down there, which will be roughly here. And that looks like a tube to me. It looks like this could be a rocket or a missile off of an aircraft kit. That's the first thing. So I've got to think about that. Here we've got the lunar module, the astronaut's backpack, which sits just above it. But then, something I hadn't really noticed before, all these bits I've got to try and approximate and replicate. But something I've never really noticed before, I don't know if you can make this out, but there is a shape which comes down and around and back up. It does this. And I'm thinking whatever that was either side, and it kind of like clamped onto the barrel, and then the flying sub pieces glued on top. And I was looking at this curvy shape and thinking, well, what could Martin have used? Now, I don't think it's a stretch, is it, to think that if Martin has got, you know, boxes upon boxes of kits open and around him while he's beavering away building something, it's not unreasonable to assume that he might use something that's already in the box. And a light bulb moment came on, because that's a very distinctive shape, isn't it? The way it's doing that. And then I realised in the flying sub kit, the lower half of the hull, the top one is one piece, the bottom half you have a middle piece and the 2 wings to put on. I'm pretty darn sure that that shape is that shape, because it kind of matches. The curve goes round. It's not obviously the full thing. I think it's got to be cut round about there, and that will give me that. If he didn't use that and it is something else, that's close enough for me, and I've got 2 of these going spare. So that's what I'm going to do. The other thing is, obviously the turret is at an angle, and there's a shape here. Sorry, that's a cat bothering me. There is a shape which comes down and up and along, and this part of the barrel is sitting on it. And it's not that clear, but it's got a ridge down this side of it. So I thought, well, maybe it will be in one of the boxes I've already got. And I think, again, if it's not, it's close enough for me. I realised that the stand for the B-29, you turn it around, and that ain't far off. Again, I'd have to angle it so the flat bit at the bottom is at the right angle. But I'm thinking, once I've done that, if I can remove this piece, so go away up staging cat, and drill 2 holes in the barrel there and there, that really will make it nicely attached, and there's no chance it's going to come off. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is is I'm not going to start cutting that up straight away. God. Sorry. Yeah, go away. He's gone. Yeah, I'm going to get a piece of card and play around with the card. And once I've got that cut out and I'm happy with it, I can transfer it to this and then cut it out. So I'll be showing you that. I'm going to try and do it with these pieces as well, because I don't want to mess it up. If I mess it up, I'm not getting another one of those kits, am I? All right. And the final thing before I go is, I was talking to Ian, who printed this shape out for me. I said, do you need to sand it? And he says, no, I don't think so. He said, usually a couple of coats of primer will do it. And it has. It's pretty much got rid of it. So I'm thinking maybe coat it in a couple of coats of primer before adding pieces to it, or a coat of yellow filler primer, see how it looks. Or I could put bands of plastic card, but that's some way off. Right now, I'm focusing on what's going on under there. Sorry, I then had somebody else come in. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that, right? Cat. One more thing to show you. I'm just going to pause and go around the corner. I thought you might find this interesting. Yeah, over the years I've amassed an awful lot of Airfix space shuttle kits, and I thought you might like to see this, because this gives you an idea. Oh, cat. Right, he's gone. This might give you an idea, or hopefully it'll give you an idea of just how whacking great, huge things the miniatures in Alien were. These are the interior shuttle bay things on the space shuttle. You know, the doors open and there's like a storage unit inside. And I've got 5 of them at the moment. And I've lined them all up like that for you. And now I'm going to bring in this photo, okay, which is part of the refinery model from Alien. And you can see Martin has said all the different parts that are on there. And here, look, Airfix Space Shuttle, interior and bays. And there's 5 of them. Them there are them there, right? So if you look at them in the size of that, and if I put my hand in, you got an idea of just how chuffing massive that model was, and expensive to build. There are a number of dragster parts on the turret. Here we've got mention of a 1/16th one. Okay, there's 1/24th pieces. Again, I've got other photos that I haven't printed out which show you red plastic pieces. This thing here, you know, the prongs that Eric kindly sent me are from the Rebel 1/16th Tony Nancy, the loaner. Back then when I was doing this, there was one for £165 in France, all right? So I know there are dragster parts used. Some of the most distinctive ones are the tubes that come out of the side, the exhaust pipes that come out the side of a dragster. And I want to include that. You know, I've given up any chance of finding the right one. And even if I can source it and identify it, it's going to be big bucks. So I got this one quite cheaply off of eBay because it has got the pipes that I need. And there are quite a few on eBay, but I was specifically looking for a seller that was showing photos of the kit parts, because I had to make sure that it came with the parts I need. See, that's almost like the prong that we need. And there they are. They're chrome, but they're the pieces I need. And hopefully, I'll be able to use various shapes to detail up, you know, the slide carousel, etc., etc. So yeah, I'm glad this has come. So I'm going to have a good old peer and see you know, what bits I can nick off of it. Well, that worked out pretty well. What I did was I got a piece of stiff card, I drew this line here, and then what I did was I got the stand and I put it so that the longest part of the stand was directly over that line, and then I drew around it. You can see I've drawn the shape of the stand, right? And then what I did was I got the tube and I laid it on the line, and then I eyeballed it to try and work out the distance between the bottom of the tube and the top of the tub shape, and also the angle, to get the angle right. So this is pointing up at pretty much the right angle, okay? And I worked it out here, and as you can see, once I was happy with it, I cut it out. All right, and I cut that out, and that gave me a little template that I could play around with. And when I was absolutely happy with it, what I did was I got the stand, I laid it on the template, all right, and I marked there and there, which gave me a cut line, and there we are, sanded that off. So that is it. As you can see, I've also removed and sanded down the little tab thing that was there. And then what I've done is I've marked it off, and that now fits nice and snugly up and into there. So good, good. This piece is going on the tub thing first. The last thing I'll be doing is actually gluing down here. All right, so that's some way off. The other thing to report is I was looking at this tube affair, and I've got various, you know, missiles and tubes and things like that, and I was trying to find one that's the right size. And again, it's not that clear in this photo. It's not the best of printed photos, but it's more than just a tube. It seems to be rounded here, and there's a slot detail sort of there. I can see it a lot better in the photo on my laptop. All right, so I was looking around, and the thing that I've decided to go with is, again, and I'm glad I found it from here, because you get more value for money. It's another Mirage part, and it's this one here. It looks pretty much identical. It's got the rounded bit. You can see some sort of slotting detail. It doesn't go the full length. It doesn't appear out here. So I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, this is the modern kit if that's what Martin used. And what I'm going to do is, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stand in its holes and mark out either side along the line, so I know exactly where that goes, because I'm thinking for more of an anchor point, if I can butt that right up to that, that's really going to help things. So yeah, another detail piece to go on. Okay, just to be on the safe side, I did give it a coat of filler primer, which has made it nice and smooth. I masked first though the top, because there's going to be an awful lot of weight on that join there, and I want the join to be as strong as possible. The bracket that I'm using, sorry, the stand that I'm using hasn't got much in the way of an attachment point, and I do wonder if Martin packed all these pieces around it just to anchor it more. So yeah, what I did was I've done that, masked that off there, just so I'm gluing onto the proper plastic. And then again, just to be on the safe side, I've wrapped a band of plastic card around to make it super smooth. This little doodle I've done here is all the way along. You've got these little rectangles going all the way along, all right? and they're up on the top as well. Now, I don't know if they are part of whatever that was that Martin used, or if Martin stuck them on. I doubt very much that he cut these out separately. I don't think with the time limit he had for making the models, he would have had time to do that. But I have, so I'm just been marking them off. I'm going to be cutting these out, right? By offering this piece up to there, I could roughly work out the size, and they are like 7 millimeters tall, 5 millimeters wide. So I've drawn out a whole bunch of them, and I'm just about to score them out, and I'll be sticking them along here. This shape is a bit of a puzzle. It obviously is apart from something, but I don't know what it is. So I'm going to scratch build one of them, or my attempt at one of them. All right. So that's that. And then the other update is for this thing that I've decided is the wing drop down. I got that template, and basically what I did was, with my left hand, I held the flying sub onto the tube, and then held the template, and then I just lifted it up, so I was looking at it at this angle. Okay, and again I eyeballed it because I wanted you to be able to see this amount if you're at that angle, and I cut it down and cut it down, and I reached that, and I'm happy with that. If I put that up in there, I'm pretty happy with that. So with that in mind, what I've done is I've laid it on the first of the wings, held it down, got a permanent marker pen and marked it. This is my cutting line now. So I'm going to do that on both, and yeah, I will return with them cut out. Okay, so that's the business end of the turret done. Down here, I've applied that shape, which is emulating that shape there. Now, Lunar Lander astronaut backpack, okay, is this piece here. I can't tell from either this photo or it on the laptop whether it's the detail side facing outwards or not. I've done it with the detail facing outwards just so there's a bit of detail, okay? I have never come across a photo of what it actually looks like on the other side. So just the other side of where the stand is going to be, that's a piece off of the old B29, okay? So that's that. Now, more progress. So here's the tub shape. I put on a couple of pieces of round styrene. So that's that, which will lead down to this affair when I finally attach it. Okay. This is currently my focus. What the heck this is. Now, it's either one or two things. Either it's integral to whatever this originally was, or it's a kit piece. And I've asked on Facebook pages, does anyone know? And nobody seems to know. So it's looking to me like three pieces, if it is kit and not part of whatever the heck that was. You've got this rectangular shape with two holes in it. You've got this shape, which then moves upwards at an angle, and then a vertical piece. So because nobody has been able to come up with what that is, and I'm an impatient so-and-so, what I've done is, I've eyeballed it, and I worked out roughly how wide that looks. And I know at least this first bit is the 3 centimeters that is, right? So, oh, by the way, because I knew something was going here, because I didn't have any plastic card long enough to go all the way round, I deliberately started it there because that's going to cover the joint up. Cunning, eh? So what I've decided to do is make my own. So I'm going to hold this gingerly because it's just the thing of measure it out, score it, and lightly crack it like so. Hopefully that's going to be intact enough for me to actually glue it on there. Okay, so that is that. Oh, and also these two holes I don't think I'm going to put in there. I'm either going to put something on the front that has got holes or a detail piece. And I'm not bothered by that because, number one, if I'm going this route, you know, this isn't going to be in any way accurate. There it is there, all right? So, and as I say, I mean, all these things around here aren't identified. No one has got, that I know of, has got a photo of what on earth's going up in there. So I'm going my own way. The other thing, the other bit of progress is I've attached the cut down lower wings. So which way round is it? Yeah, that's the front. So there we go. That's them in, and the turret will be sitting in there. Okay. I've got a hunch, I think, that the reason Martin shoved so many pieces up in there is because if he did indeed use these pieces, you've got a whacking great big gap up there. And I think that white bit that you see just there like that isn't anything on there. It's not the back of that shape. I think you're looking up and inside and into there. So what I might do is put a strip of plastic card along there to block that off. And then I've got to think about all the pieces that have got to go in there. Now, you've already seen that I've got a dragster kit, and that does give me the exhaust pipes. But that dragster kit is 1/25th scale, right? And I know that at least these two pieces came off of a 1/16th, a considerably larger kit. So my exhaust pipes are too small. I might use them here and just put a detail in using them there, right? Back in the day when I was originally going to do this, I'd put, because I got this off of the forum, Revel 1/16th, Tony Nancy, the Loner, 1974. That's what those two bits come from, right? And I've put £165 France. So I went on eBay and I've typed in 1/16th dragster, and the only one that's around is this model in France, and it's £166. Absolutely no chuffing way am I even going to consider doing that. Instead, because American Eric has been kind enough, you know, to donate me those bits off the kit, it's going to be cheeky to say, oi, any chance I could buy the pipes off of you? Because he's going to be building one of these as well. No, what I'm thinking is it's only 4 pipes. I know somebody who does a lot of metalworking in his spare time. And I think if I can get the dimension, what I'm thinking about doing is just laying this down, working out how far the pipe comes out and how far it goes down. That gives me a dimension. And I'm thinking if he's got some, like, you know, soft aluminium, he could bend and cut me the 8 pipes. That would work, wouldn't it? So yeah, I'm seeing him tomorrow. So yeah, that's where I am at the moment. So I'm going to be gluing a few more things on, and I'll come back with the next part. Okay, so with that piece attached, I have to simulate this bit that goes up and over. And for that, what I've done is my trusty old tracing paper. I can't praise this stuff enough. I use it so much for so many things. Basically what I did was, first of all, I marked up roughly how far up the slope it goes, and I marked it there in pencil. And then what I did is I got a straight edge of tracing paper, and I just lay it down. Let's see if I can do this. I lay it down, and then I traced the angle that it had to come out going this way. All right, and then I cut that, and then just eyeballing it again, I worked out how far up it's got to go, how far out it comes away from the slope there, and that's given me this shape just here. Now I've got to cut that out. Well, I've got to trace it onto plastic card and cut out 2 of them, and then that gives me the 2 sides. And then when I've done that, I can put a roof up and over, and I'll come back when I've done that. All right, so there we go. That's it. It's all boxed in with plastic card. What I want to do now is just put a cover over, just to hide all these joins, like up there and across there. I want that to be one piece. So I'm going to get my thinnest plastic card and just do the sides, again using tracing paper, and then along and down, so it looks all more like it's a one piece. And then I've got to figure out what I'm going to do for that little uprighty shape that goes just there. Okay, bit of a rethink time. This isn't right. You can see I've built it, but now it's all built and on. If you compare it to the one on the original, I'm right in the how high it goes up that slope. It is about that high. You can see I marked it, and I'm happy with that. But this shot, and I think the width is okay, but the depth of it, it sticks out far too far. It's, yeah, I've got to reduce that by like a third. That is far narrower than I've made it. So I've got to scrap that. I've got to get that off now and start all over again. All right. The other bit of progress for you is that the slide carousel that I've got, I don't know if Martin has stuck something all the way round. I suspect he did, because that's the way a slide carousel works. You've got all these notches which go all the way around. Now this has got a rim to it, right? Mine didn't. Mine just had the notches. And what I've had to do is get a strip of plastic card and put it all the way round up to the things, right? So, and maybe Martin did that. One piece that absolutely is identifiable is this piece here, which is off of the B29 kit. You can see it there as well. So, hooray, I finally put a bit on the slide carousel, right? But Martin, being Martin, hasn't just stuck it on. There's something on the top that isn't part of this piece. That's something extra he's put on, and there's something below it as well, right? So I've got to just have a rummage and stick something on the top and underneath. But priority now, I've got to focus, and I've got to redo this. I've got to take this off and thin it down. Okay, I've made a decision, and that is that back in the day when I first started this, I would do a project in multi-part videos, and every time I had an update, I would update the YouTube channel, and you would get, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parts to one project. But the last few years I've been doing them as single videos. But it's occurring to me that the videos I've done so far, that hopefully you've watched to get to this point, it's adding up the watch time, the viewing time. And I think if I did this as one long video, it's going to be a bit too long. So I think now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it as a 2-part video, and this is the end of part 1, because up until now it's been sourcing parts, thinking about things, the construction of the basic shapes. Well, I'm moving into the area now of the detailing, the finishing and the painting, and I think this is the time to have a split. So we're going to stop in a minute, and then I'll come back with part 2 further down the line. So before I end it, just a quick recap of where we are, going from the top to the bottom. So top of the ship then, I have absolutely no idea what's going on in this area, but I'm looking forward to doing that. Okay, here I have blanked off those areas with plasticard, all ready for all of this that I've got to work out what I'm going to use, which is on this side of one of the vertical pieces. Either side, I've got to come up with all this gubbins. Here, with the actual turret itself, there are extra bits, okay, which I've got to simulate, which go on the inside of that piece. All right, so that's good. And then we've got this area. Now, I didn't bring the Martin Bauer book down with me. Apologies for that. Let's talk about this side first. All right, so where I am on this side, I don't know what that is inside that hole. It looks like there's a cross in there. Couldn't find anything. So what I've done is I've cut down one of the wheels of the Mirage plane, and I've stuck that in there. Okay, and as you can see, I've stuck it on. There's bits and pieces which go up on there. All right, this thing I have redone, so it's a lot slimmer now than what it was, and I'm happy with that. This thing and the rod is approximating that. I thought this was a kit piece, but looking into the better resolution image I've got on my laptop, that's actually a Moonbase Alpha decal, which goes about there. I would have felt rather foolish if I'd actually put on a piece of plastic. So yeah, I got to put the stand piece in and then work out what I'm going to be doing all amongst there, and that will be up there. The bit I should have shown you in the Martin book, but if you just rewind, you will have seen it. The one image that I've got of what's going on this side, it has this bit. But looking closer at that photo, Martin has actually cut it from there to there. It's not the whole piece. It's cut like so. So I've got to cut that there, and then I've got to try and make it match the curve. So that's a little bit of a challenge. Got to put on all the squares going on along there, right? And then the lower section, all this going on. Again, looking at a better resolution, I can see that that coloured thing there is a tube, and then we've got lots of rectangular pieces all the way around, and then we've got working pieces and stuff like that. Okay, so they're all going to be going all along here. So as I say, I think this is the time to actually say end of part 1 on this build. It shouldn't be too long before I come back with the rest of it. Just because this is end of part 1 doesn't mean I'm stopping it. Sure, I've got other projects on the go, but this one is always going to be on the go. So I don't know how long it will be before I come back with part 2. But yeah, if you've subscribed, you'll get a notification. If you haven't, well, why not subscribe? And you will get a notification. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, as I record this, it's the 11th of November, 2025. Will I be done by Christmas? Maybe. We'll see. Hopefully I will. Hopefully I'll get it done by the end of the year. So yeah, stay tuned and I will return with this done.